This video will explore the ageless story of Jesus Christ feeding the 5,000 with other believers. Together, let's take a deep dive into this story to discover its timeless truths and explore its depths. Deep sorrow and doubt surrounded the circumstances leading up to Jesus Christ. Miracle feeding of the 5,000. Jesus sought comfort in a secluded area of the desert shortly after the disciples had told him about his cousin's passing and buried the body of John the Baptist. There was no way for the disciples to fully comprehend the depths of pain and conflict within Jesus' heart and rest for the solitude of that lonely area while they watched. For Jesus, John the Baptist was more than simply a prophet. He was also a close cousin and relative who had prepared the way for his divine purpose and agenda here on earth and announced his arrival on earth. Through the wilderness, John's voice had resounded, heralding the coming of the Messiah, the one whose sandals he was not fit to untie. Jesus may have been overwhelmed with a large and a whirlpool of emotions upon learning of John's horrific death, including sadness, sorrow, maybe even rage and confusion. In all of this, Jesus' heart never lost sight of the needs of people around him, even in the midst of his own suffering. Even with what he was passing through at that time, a multitude thirsty for healing and hope followed him as he retired to a desolate area to find comfort and contact with his Father. Jesus' empathy for the suffering of others remained unwavering, even in the face of his own anguish. He was moved with compassion for the masses despite his own sadness, and he healed their sick. Jesus' ability to work miracles in the midst of such profound sorrow and sadness is evidence of his divine essence and unending love. His ability to feed the hungry, heal the sick, and console the grieving is beyond human comprehension. When Jesus fed the 5,000 miraculously in that same moment, he gave a hint of the hope and salvation that were in store for those who put their faith in him. The events of that day, which happened over 2,000 years ago, serve as a reminder that Jesus is always there, even in the depths of your sorrow and despair. He is the source of consolation and healing, the hope that shines brilliantly through all of life's difficulties. When you reflect on the miracle feeding of the 5,000, we are struck once again by the strength of Jesus' kindness and his unshakable dedication to all who come to him. At the end of the entire John the Baptist funeral ritual, by seeking a silent location for himself, Jesus Christ was attempting to absolve himself of responsibility for the entire affair. This is because the people came to realize that they were no longer able to be baptized by John the Baptist, who had constantly assured them that a greater authority would soon baptize them with the Holy Spirit. Following him on foot out of the towns, the multitude learned that Jesus Christ had left for a deserted location, most likely to spend time alone, pray, and have a conversation with the Father on John's passing. This remark captures one of the most fundamental features of Jesus' character, his unending love for people. Jesus was moved with compassion when he saw a large multitude and healed their sick. Deep insights into the character of Jesus, his ministry, and his interactions with others are revealed in this one sentence. In its purest form, the compassion exhibited by Jesus Christ goes beyond mere sympathy or pity. One sincere reaction to the pain and tribulations of others stems from a profound empathy. Jesus saw more than just a mass of people as he looked out upon the multitude. He saw people, each with their own needs, struggles, and tales to tell. He felt real sympathy for them in his heart. This compassion was active rather than passive. Jesus was compelled to interact with the crowd, extend his hand, and tend to their needs as a result. He didn't ignore or downplay their hardships or suffer in silence. Rather, Jesus moved forward, prepared to provide restoration, hope, and healing. The act of Jesus curing the sick is a concrete manifestation of his compassion. His touch, his word, or his sight could relieve physical diseases in people who were afflicted. His deep love and care for the welfare of everyone he came into contact with drove him to accomplish miracles rather than seeking fame or praise. Furthermore, Jesus showed universal and inclusive compassion. It was inclusive of everyone, irrespective of their background, ethnicity, or socioeconomic standing. He gave solace to the bereaved, loved the misfits, and cured the ill. He had sympathy for everyone, and no one was ever thought to be undeserving of his affection. Jesus' empathy is still an example for us to follow in our own lives today. We are expected to exhibit the same compassion that defined his ministry as his disciples. It is our duty to respond to people with compassion and empathy, to see the humanity in them, and to respect their intrinsic worth and dignity. Jesus starts talking while in the Sea of Galilee, a huge body of water that has seen innumerable accounts of faith and miracles stretches out behind him. His authoritative yet soft voice rises above the sound of the waves, drawing everyone's attention who has gathered to hear him speak. His words are akin to a salve for the tired soul. They provide hope to the hopeless, wisdom to the seeker, and consolation to the brokenhearted. He speaks of forgiveness and redemption, love, and compassion, truths that his listeners can relate to on a deep level. A feeling of calm that is beyond all of the world's concerns and anxieties settles over the assembly as the crowd clings on his every word. Amidst the splendor of creation, they are lured into a time of hallowed silence in Jesus' company. The sound of the outside world disappears, leaving only the voice of the one who speaks words of hope and life. At that time, it was evident that people desired something different from their current situation. They would often go to the temple and listen to the prophets of that era recite passages from the Bible before John the Baptist died. They all acknowledged that it was a good practice, of course, but do they desire something more? Yes, as shown from the way they responded to hearing Jesus' teachings. The extreme selflessness that Jesus showed in that dire circumstance was remarkable in those days. The account states that when it was evening, his disciples went to meet him to release the multitude to go back to their various abodes. Even though the writer of the event does not specify how long it takes to heal and instruct the sick, it was evident from the disciples' choice that they had been deliberating about it among themselves before mustering the bravery to approach Jesus and inform him of their decision. Just as Jesus treated his followers with empathy and purpose, Reinhard Bonk, too, responds to the cries of the poor with compassion. He is aware that sending them away at this time would deprive them of the chance to personally encounter the strength of God's love and grace. Thus, Bonk continues to preach to the assembly with unwavering commitment, his words bearing the weight of conviction as he offers prayers for healing and restoration. As the night wears on, more miracles happen. A blind woman sees, a lame man walks, and a shattered heart heals. At that point, God's strength and supply became evident, overshadowing the urgency of the hour. Those who have personally experienced the miracles go with hearts full of thanks and renewed faith as the last echoes of the evening's crusade fade into the darkness. This is because just as Jesus showed his mercy and power to work miracles all those years ago, so too does Bonk, a representative of God's kindness and grace in a world in need of hope. And all those who dare to believe are given comfort and healing by the brilliant light of God's love that shines in the midst of the darkness. What Reinhard Bonk did was that he followed the footstep of Jesus. In Jesus, the disciples, weary from the day's journey and the pressing throng of people, looked on with a mix of awe and concern. As the day wore on and the sun began its descent, hunger gnawed at the bellies of the multitude. The disciples exchanged uneasy glances, acutely aware of the logistical challenge they faced. How could they possibly feed so many with so little? Doubt crept into their minds like a shadow, clouding their faith in the face of such overwhelming need. "Master," one of the disciples ventured, his voice hesitant, "the hour is late and the people grow hungry. Should we not send them away to find food in the nearby villages?" But Jesus turned to them, his eyes filled with compassion. "They need not go away," he said, his voice steady and sure. "You give them something to eat." The disciples exchanged incredulous looks, their doubts growing with each passing moment. How could they possibly fulfill such a command? They scanned the crowd, searching for a solution amidst the sea of faces. Then Andrew spoke up, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "There is a boy here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fishes, he said, gesturing towards a young lad who stood at the edge of the crowd. Jesus nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his lips. "Bring them to me," he said. The disciples hesitated, their doubts still lingering like a heavy fog. But they obeyed, gathering the meager offering from the boy and presenting it to Jesus. With a solemn reverence, Jesus took the loaves and the fish in his hands. He lifted them up to heaven, offering a prayer of thanksgiving to his Father above. Then, with a sense of purpose, he began to break the bread and divide the fish, his hands working swiftly and surely. And as he did, something miraculous happened. The loaves and fish multiplied in his hands, each piece growing until there was enough to feed the entire multitude. As the miracle materialized before their eyes, the disciples gazed on in astonishment. In the face of such heavenly power, their doubts vanished, and they were left with a strong, unwavering faith in the person they named Master. They understood that nothing was difficult for Jesus, and in that instant, their comprehension of his mission expanded. In all, may you never lose sight of the strength of faith and confidence in God's supply, even in the face of uncertainty and scarcity. Let us accept the idea that everything is possible with God, and that if we have the faith to believe, miracles can still occur among us. After this story, let us be agents of change in our neighborhoods by giving generously to those in need and sharing the story's central message of grace and hope. One last thing, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, comment, and share so that others get to see it also and be blessed. You can also copy the link and share within your community. God bless you as you do so. Remain blessed.